Way to go, Tic Tac!
That's how you punch.
Wakanda forever!
Nah, you wouldn't have heard of me.
Let me put you on hold.
Dance off, bro! He's a friend from work!
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
What up, guys? It's Dom, and welcome back to another TV show review. Today we are going over and ranking Daredevil Season 1. Now, I was very excited to start reviewing this show. This is one of my, if not my favorite Marvel TV show. It's very, very good through and through. So when I got the chance to rewatch it before I watched Daredevil Born Again for the first time, I got very excited. So without further ado, let's go over the 7 essential aspects of a TV show. The first essential aspect is plot. I loved the plot to this season. I think it was very engaging. They did a great job of adding that level of mystery where first-time viewers can really get sucked in and try to figure out the same exact stuff that the main characters are trying to figure out. And the villain unveil towards the end of the season was one of the better ones that I know of. Because you hear of this character earlier in the season, but all you're really doing is hearing what someone might be calling him. You never even know, you don't get confirmation of who it is until he shows up, and he shows up in a massive way. And the chemistry between, I mean, I think everyone knows already, it's Wilson Fisk. The chemistry between Daredevil and Wilson Fisk in this season was spectacular. And that honestly carried the plot because the plot felt more meaningful with those characters included. You knew that Daredevil had this big thing with Fisk, and it caused all the sticky situations that they got into to be even more dramatic and even more exciting. So the plot was one of the better parts of this show. The second essential aspect is attraction. So if you're a Marvel nerd like me, I don't even think I have to say it, you will enjoy this. The concept is just very, very good. And if you love Marvel, it's going to be even better because it's a character that you know and that you love. For people that aren't too familiar with Marvel or too familiar with Daredevil, this is a great origin story that will suck you in. It will help you understand this character and it will make you fall in love with this character. I think the darkness that this character has is kind of what Marvel doesn't do a lot. It's more of a DC thing, and I feel like that's why a lot of people do prefer DC to Marvel, depending on who you ask, obviously. But for example, I have some friends that prefer DC to Marvel just because of the darkness. They think it's more brutal. There actually is more depth to that universe. While I agree, it really does depend on the character. For example, Daredevil, he has a darker story. He has a more brutal story. So for those of you that enjoy DC more than Marvel and want to give Marvel a try, I do suggest starting with this show. It will feel more like a DC show. It will. It very much will. And that's why I think this concept is so good. Because for people that love Marvel, they will love it. For people that don't, this is a good way to start it up as well. So absolutely, concept was great. The third essential aspect is dialogue. This was another thing that was fantastic with this show. The dialogue between Matt, Karen, Foggy, Fisk, all of the main characters that are the biggest portion of this plot, the dialogue between them all feels real. It feels like conversations that you would hear if these were real people having this conversation. If they've gone through the same life experiences and having this conversation, it sounds exactly like it. Now, when it comes to some of the side characters, that's not always the case. That is harder to do. But for the main characters they are the main premise of this story, those dialogue pieces were amazing. So yes, dialogue I think is amazing when it comes to the main characters. The fourth essential aspect is acting. So there was good acting in this show and there was okay acting. There definitely wasn't any bad acting, and there was definitely some great acting, especially by these three individuals. One is obviously Charlie Cox, who played Matt Murdock, Daredevil, the main character. It was his story. He did a fantastic job on all parts. Honestly, I don't think there's a single bit of acting that he did in this first season that threw me off, while there were some other characters that did have that effect. But also, I think the biggest thing that he did was that him acting blind was very, very realistic. I obviously knew his actor wasn't blind, but if I was just watching this scene, I could really probably wouldn't even be able to tell. Just because he did such a good job of not only pretending to be blind with walking with a stick and just doing whatever, but also him staring off into space throughout the entire season. Because obviously his actor can see. So his actor has the ability to lock onto someone's eyes while they're talking to them. He doesn't slip even once. He's just staring off during an entire conversation, and that's very impressive. I don't think I would be able to do that. That is a very hard task to do. And along those same lines, Scott Glenn, who played Stick was a side character, but he was also blind. He also did a fantastic job. Both these characters, honestly, I'm not too familiar with Scott Glenn, so I actually had to look up if he was a blind person. That's how good and how realistic his acting was with playing Stick. And a third character that I wanted to mention, which was the big bad, Vincent D'Onofrio, I didn't want to mispronounce it, I'm sorry, who played Fisk. He did a spectacular job. I would say Charlie Cox probably did better in his role as Matt, but that is also, he is the more of the main character. Fisk is more of the villain, and he doesn't appear until the second half of the season, but when he appeared, that acting ability showed up. I mean, he felt menacing. He felt like the real big boss. You can tell from his acting how well he portrayed what you would imagine this big kingpin to be. So yeah, without Charlie Cox and Vincent, I don't think there would be a Daredevil continuation. I think that they did such a fantastic job in these roles that obviously is going to spark them continue the next 2 seasons, and what's going to spark them to be in Daredevil Born Again. So yeah, without them, this show would be absolutely nothing. The 5th essential aspect is cinematography. Another thing the season did great is cinematography. I mean, the visuals were really, really good. The way they showed what Matt's point of view looks like, because he is blind, but he has elevated other senses, even being able to show that in a way that makes sense, that is realistic, but still obviously Marvel superpowers, that was a really good use of cinematography. And also just the way the city looks. In the nighttime, in the daytime, it doesn't matter. It looks like a real city. It looks like they're actually, I mean, obviously it probably was actually recorded in New York, but it felt like you actually were in New York in these different circumstances. And the emotional side, they also did really good. They knew how to connect you to these characters off episode 1. You already fell in love with some of these characters and wanted to see how the story continued. So whenever anything happened, you were the first one to feel the gut punch. So cinematography on both ends did really, really well. I will give them credit more for emotional side compared to visual side, but I think they did both really well. The 6th essential aspect is soundtrack. I think the soundtrack was pretty fantastic. I mean, the main theme of Daredevil is one that is very memorable to me. I don't know why, it sounds really good, and whenever I hear it, it does give me that same kind of energy of, okay, I'm gonna watch a darker TV show. I'm gonna watch a more brutal superhero that is in the Marvel Universe. And I always get into it, and I love watching that opening theme, not just because of the music, but because of the art style behind it as well, which honestly, I probably should have mentioned in cinematography, because that intro is amazing. But that music behind it is probably the big key of why it's so good, because it has that certain attraction level. It has the level of the memorability where you will remember that theme. So soundtrack, honestly great. When it came to the other things in the season, it's like every action superhero movie, but that main theme is why I wanted to mention it. And the 7th essential aspect is time. Without a doubt, I'm not gonna spend much time talking about this. It definitely stands the test of time. This is a lot of people's favorite Marvel TV show, and it's not even close. I mean, they did such a good job that everyone wanted to see more, which is why they obviously made Daredevil Born Again, but also they just knew what they were doing. This was early 2010s superhero TV show. There were other ones that were like it that weren't even close. Daredevil was such a good character to do a show on. He has so many layers to him. The villains were fantastic. The acting level was fantastic. This is definitely probably the most memorable season. I'm gonna take that back. I think season 3 is slightly more memorable, but at least this is the one that everyone has at least watched. Because even if someone's watched Daredevil and wasn't their cup of tea, they're still gonna remember the first season because that's the one they watched. So I do think this one would be the one that stands the test of time the most. Now, onto the rating. So I'm gonna give it a 90. I honestly do not see much, if anything, wrong with it. The only reason I'm not giving it higher than a 90, I could even be convinced for mid-90s. But the only reason is because I don't think there is such thing as a perfect TV show. I'm never gonna give anything an 100. If I do, I'm probably lying. Because there is no perfect show. If there was a perfect show, then there would be no reason to have other shows. There's always something to improve, especially in Marvel. So 90% is amazing. It's really hard to even get to that level. You have to really do something perfectly to get there. So this season is definitely like that. They knew exactly what they were doing, and that's why they can continue on with these next seasons and with Reborn. And finally, the rankings. So individually, it's going to be first, as obviously this is the first season, so it's the only season, so I can't really rank it against any other ones. And in all time, it's going to be third, above What If season 1 through 3 and below Blue Mountain State season 1 through 3. Now, as much as this might be surprising for you based off of how amazing Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was for me, I think the first season of Daredevil has more to offer in better acting and better everything than all 3 seasons of What If combined. That was such a disappointing show. So the fact is, I just know Daredevil is great. I know this season's amazing, and I know that is probably hand for hand better than the entire series of What If. So I can't imagine what happens once I review the other 2, because I'm sure it will just skyrocket. But yeah, definitely better than What If. And the only reason I didn't put it above Blue Mountain State, which it was close, I honestly was thinking about it, was just because even though it's great and it is probably better than the entire show, I do have to say there is more development and more character arcs and just more to give in the 3 seasons of Blue Mountain State, but it is honestly close. The 1 season really holds up well against those 3 seasons. So for now, I'll be here, but I know it will move up once season 2 is involved. That's all I have for Daredevil season 1. If you guys enjoyed this review, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and make sure to comment what TV show or movie you want me to review next. If you want to see someone that does something very similar, check out my best friend, Mr. Majoritarian. He does the same thing I do, except he doesn't do TV shows. He only sticks to movies. And he has 2 all-time ongoing lists going on, one for entertainment and one for cinematography. So if that's something that you might enjoy, definitely go check him out. His link will always be in my description. And I hope you guys have an amazing night. Peace out.